On today's show, Tommy Dreamer has been suspended by Impact Wrestling. A Ric Flair WWE Network show has been pulled, and a huge, unexpected match announced for next week's Raw. Stay tuned. But before we get there, as part of the Cultaholic New Superstar Initiative, it is my pleasure to introduce you all, Luke Osborne. Big claps in the comments. Luke, tell us about yourself.
I feel like the Ricky Ortiz of the Cultaholic world.
It's a good start.
No, I'm one of the video editors.
Mm-hmm. A bit of a newbie.
New ones, yeah.
Fresh blood.
Months, so it's
good to have you here, Luke.
Thank you.
So let's talk about Tommy Dreamer being suspended by Impact Wrestling. So I'm sure you're all aware of what has gone down this week. The Dark Side of the Ring episode about the plane ride from hell causing a huge amount of controversy. And one man who has been in the centre of all this controversy, perhaps even more so in a lot of people's eyes than Ric Flair, is Tommy Dreamer, who made some comments about Ric Flair, and it was all very much like, well, that's Ric Flair for you, boys will be boys. It was a very foolish thing to say. Anyway, PW Insider released a report late last night that Impact Wrestling has now suspended Tommy Dreamer because of those comments. Ed Norholm issuing an email to the company's roster and staff. In the email, he stated that the company was made aware of the comments Dreamer made on the episode and that they were out of line with their core values as a company. And he has been asked to leave effective immediately, suspended indefinitely. So we don't know whether he will be back, whether he won't be back. I can understand why they would do this because they're a business, and I think having somebody on your roster and featuring them prominently on TV when they've made comments like that may draw negative attention to the company. Yeah. One baffling thing, and I touched on it a little bit earlier, is that I'm seeing a lot more criticism toward Tommy Dreamer than I am Ric Flair, who did this stuff. And I'm not excusing Tommy in any way, but it's odd that people have jumped on Tommy. Maybe it's because we've known that Ric Flair is sort of engaged in some pretty dodgy behaviour in the past, whereas Tommy Dreamer has mostly been pretty well liked in the wrestling community. So it was a bit more shocking hearing him say this stuff. But he's had it really, really hard, but understandably so. I think the comments were really daft.
Yeah, it sort of felt like he was a bit out of touch, especially with sort of how things have gone.
The comments, he made the comparisons like, well, people are going to be offended about everything nowadays in woke culture and all that. And then he said, well, I've got two ponytails. And he's comparing that to a man exposing himself and asking a flight attendant to touch it. It was a foolish thing to say, did not come across well. Various people didn't come across well in that. Mike Chioda, I didn't think he was laughing constantly during the thing.
It was a bit weird.
It was weird. I think JR did an all right job on there. Obviously, it's a very difficult thing to talk about anyway, but the tone was completely wrong. Ric Flair hasn't got away with it, by the way. He has, first of all, he's had an advertising campaign paused. So the Car Shield commercial, which I'm sure you've seen on TV if you're in the US, it's all over the place. They have paused that commercial campaign. They released a statement to PW Insider. We take these matters very seriously. As of right now, we're pausing the campaign and we will do our due diligence. There's no timetable for the spots to return, and the commercial will soon disappear pending additional investigation and decisions. Once again, it makes sense, doesn't it? Given everything that people are saying about Ric Flair, you don't want that man right now associated with your company, especially a company as massive as that. But there's more. Once again, WWE have also removed a Ric Flair episode of Storytime. Now, we talked about this on yesterday's news show, the Ric Flair Storytime episode where they cover the plane ride from hell, and Ric Flair is joking about it, and it's being presented in a very sort of humorous, light-hearted way with funny music and all that sort of stuff. That has now been pulled from the network. An interesting note on this, that wasn't the only one that got pulled. Season 3, Episode 3 also got removed, and I think this is so people don't confuse the two, but that Season 3, Episode 3 one had, when Vince wrestled Angle on the plane?
Oh, where you reckoned he could take him down?
Yeah. Right, because of course he could.
Of course you can take down the gold medalist.
It's Vince McMahon.
Do anything.
They've taken that one down, and I think that this is distancing Vince from any sort of plane stuff, and so people don't confuse the two and lump the two together.
Sweep it under the rug for now, and
It's curious timing with like the release of Ric Flair that's only happened recently in WWE. They knew, of course, that this episode of Dark Side of the Ring was coming, and it was going to be covering this stuff. And obviously, in Dark Side of the Ring, things are typically covered in a very real light, but often, I guess, just naturally because of the subject matter, quite a negative light, because these are really heavy things that they're talking about. Do you think there's any correlation between that release and the release of Dark Side of the...
I don't know. I've seen a lot of people sort of speculate about this online, and I feel it's just coincidence, unless sort of Dark Side of the Ring have gone to WWE, said like about this, but it just feels too coincidental to me.
I agree. Complete speculation again. Obviously, Ric Flair believed to be on his way to AEW. The belief is that he was going to end up managing Andrade on the show, and those rumors were heightened after Andrade turned on Chavo Guerrero on Rampage. We've got the reason that happened, and it doesn't factor in Ric Flair as I think we expected. This is from Wrestling Observer Newsletter, and Dave writes, the reason for the angle on Rampage where Chavo Guerrero was turned on by Andrade and then beaten down by Penta and Phoenix, which looked like a character blow-off, is that Chavo works as the wrestling coordinator for the TV show Young Rock, and they're filming the second season of the show now. In an interesting note, the showrunner for Young Rock is the sister of Nick Khan. When Tony Khan brought in Guerrero for Andrade and Young Rock was renewed, they came up with an agreement where Guerrero would work through All Out and then they would blow off the character. After the filming of season 2, Guerrero is expected back to WWE? No, he's not. to WCW. No, to AEW. So he's expected to go back to AEW. By that time, maybe Andrade will be partnered up with Flair. Maybe after everything that's gone down, maybe he won't be. Do you still see... I said this on yesterday's video, is that because he's Ric Flair, I think he'll still end up on AEW. But that was before the drama. I don't want to call it drama, it sort of undermines it. But that was before things got as heated as they have done. So I'm questioning what I said yesterday. Do you think he'll still end up there?
Oh, I think if he does, it might be postponed. But sort of similar to what you were saying about the backlash being aimed at Tommy, I feel, you know, it's Flair. People are just going to give him a bit of a pass.
Because he's Ric Flair, because he's a GOAT, right?
Like, it's not right, but that's how I can see it playing out.
Yeah,
or at least he'll go away for a little bit, come back, and it'll be like nothing's happened.
I agree. I think the postponement is the most likely thing. Let the heat die down and then bring him back, and obviously they see big money in Flair. He is still a draw. He's proven that's why WWE have put him on TV so many times over the years since his retirement. Speaking of WWE, some big matches announced for both Raw and SmackDown. The biggest, without a doubt, is something that I thought we were going to get at Survivor Series. It's one of those times here that I'm actually hoping for shenanigans, so we get it proper at pay-per-view.
Yeah.
New Day versus the Bloodline. Next week's Raw. Awesome. That's like a dream match for me. That's so good. And what I love about it happening at Survivor Series, at least, is that it can protect both Big E and Roman Reigns. So if they go one-on-one, unless they do a DQ or something, somebody's got to take the pin, somebody's got to submit, and I don't think it's the right time in either man's career for that to happen. Roman really should only be being pinned or submitted if he's dropping the belt, in my opinion. So by making it a 6-man, it means that Jimmy, Jay, Xavier, Kofi, any of them could take the pin. It protects the world champions, but it's a huge match for next week's Raw. Really looking forward to it. It's been said that WWE are really going to start focusing on Raw and making them as big as they can be, especially with declining ratings. But that's not it. We've also got a segment after what I've just said. Alexa and Charlotte.
The real headline.
The real main event. And all we know about this, the segment has been touted as Alexa welcoming Charlotte to her playground. So that'll be, what are your thoughts? That'll do. It's fine.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, won't it? We've got Sheamus versus Jeff Hardy for a US title opportunity. We've got the tag titles, the women's tag titles on the line. Tamina and Natalya taking on Rhea and Nikki, almost a superhero. Obviously following the botched ending of this week's Raw. Plus a New Day Big E celebration. So that would be great. There's a lot going on Raw. I actually think that looks like a really stacked show. But often these things look great on paper, and then you get to the show, and half the matches don't happen, or they just turn out crap. On SmackDown, IC title on the line. It's the Extreme Rules Go Home edition of SmackDown, of course. We've got King Shinsuke Nakamura defending his title against Apollo Crews next Friday night. How do you think that's going to end?
Shenanigans.
Yeah, I think so.
It'll either be shenanigans or maybe the title will just flip-flop and he'll get it back at Extreme Rules.
Oh, you reckon he might drop it on Friday, reign for 2 days?
Maybe with shenanigans he might win it.
Yeah, perhaps. It's
not Rick Boog's turns.
Rick Boog's turn. That's what we all want to see.
Guitar over the heads.
Nice. I mean, I just can't get excited about it. I'm really enjoying Intercontinental Champion King Shinsuke.
Yeah.
I just want Apollo Crews out of that picture now. I'm done with him being there.
Felt continuous. It's been like all of 2021, I feel.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and it's not been, in my opinion at least, especially entertaining stuff. Also on the show next week, Liv Morgan versus Zelina Vega in Liv's warm-up match before her Extreme Rules match at Extreme Rules against Carmella. So that was announced, which was a bit of a shock because, I don't know, I think we've become accustomed to it. I'm not saying it's right because it's not, but you don't really get women's matches without a title or something on the line on pay-per-view. So it's actually awesome to see that. That said, I wouldn't be surprised if it got bumped to the pre-show.
No, same.
Just saying. Anyway, that's us. We'll be back in a few hours. Go and leave lovely comments about lovely, handsome Luke right now. Look at that. Oh, isn't he beautiful? And we'll be back in a few hours for more wrestling news. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.